Welcome, friends, to the Soul Talk podcast, a show where we explore and uncover the path to the heart, amplifying your conscience. Join me as we meet incredible souls who are in this journey and learn from their experience and different methods that will make you vibrate your heart. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. This is Monica Ramirez, the Warrior of Love, and thank you for being in Soul Talk again. And today we have Krystal Hille. I hope I said it right.
Yes.
Okay, and let me tell you a little bit about who she is, but she's going to explain us more about it. Krystal Hille is a CEO of her company. It is called Hille House Publishing. So if there is many people that are right now thinking writing a book, and they listen to this podcast, because you might find some information for you that it may help you to keep that going. And she's a transformational visibility visionary coach. So, but we wanted to ask her so she can explain us more what does she do, and like that everybody can be helped or help others at the same time with this information. Thank you, Krista, for helping us to finally we got a catch, because we've been trying to catch each other, and for some reason or other reason, right now it was the right timing.
Right now, it was the right time. Yes, thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Monica.
Krista, tell us a little bit more about what do you do? What do you mean as a visionary transformational coach?
So I call myself a visibility visionary, which, and I've recently changed it to multidimensional visionary, because I feel like I've had a very eclectic career path that led from theater directing to transformational life coaching to now the publishing. And I've also, in the meantime, been a Reiki master and have been trained as that, and a Tantra teacher. So I've got a huge toolkit, and it is actually right now that I'm really honing in on how am I supposed to bring all of this together in the work that I'm doing right now with the healers and the coaches to help them write their book, because writing a book is such a powerful transformational experience for a writer. And that's what really excites me. You know, when I was a teenager, I always knew I was here to help people. And I thought, with my limited understanding of the world, that when you help people, you study psychology, you become a psychologist, right? Because I had this, and I didn't know what else there was. And, you know, when I was growing up in the 80s, life coaching didn't even exist really in the way that it does today. So I then very soon realized that psychology wasn't for me. I wasn't mathematical. I didn't want to box people in through statistics. I'm a very creative spirit. And so I went to my second love, which has been the love for writing, reading books, and understanding and exploring human perspectives, emotions, motivations through literature. So I've kind of brought those two together, and that's how I then ended up studying English theater and English literature and theater studies, and became a theater director, where I was kind of I was feeling I was in training to help people, because I was honing my leadership skills, helping the actors bring the best performance on stage by really tapping into them, seeing them, and then bringing that out of them. And then when I was doing the life coaching, I was just helping people, again, seeing patterns, seeing what wasn't working, and helping them transform that. And now with the publishing, it's still about seeing people. It's still about helping them see their story, helping them see the value in their life story, helping them maybe even in a deeper way understand the patterns, their core purpose, or I call it a void to value statement, which actually Dr. John DiMartini calls it that. I'm borrowing that concept from voids to values. And that's what I help my clients really identify. What is the void that you experienced in your childhood that created a value that you're now striving for, and a value that you're now holding really important in your life, that you're now using also that has become your purpose work, that you're stepping into to help others with. So that is the kind of foundation for any work that I do with my authors, to help them really come from personal place first before we even think about, okay, how does that fit into your business? And you know, how do we put the book, you know, into your business plan, and how is it going to serve not just you personally in terms of that transformation, but also the reader and your business and the world.
It sounds very, very interesting
So that was a lot.
Eclectic in a way, but I get you. I am a creative mind too. So yeah, I totally get you. From podcaster to writer and painter and coach and a lot of stuff. So I get you. But writing my first book, it was truly a challenge because there's a lot of insecurity that comes in it. Who are you? What qualifications you have? Even if you have 10,000 qualifications and certificates and so forth, there is that piece of doubt in each one of us when we're writing a book. How good is going to be my book? Who's going to read it? Who's going to edit it? Who's going to, if there's a publishing company, or do I put it in Amazon, or what is going to happen with it? And all those questions comes to every single writer that we're writing our book, and how much is going to cost, and all those kind of stuff. Because yes, you can put the work in there, but not everybody can afford to pay a lot of money for a publishing company to actually publishing. At least in my area, that's my expertise with them. It is daunting. They ask a lot of money for something like that. It is easier to put it in Amazon, and later on you can figure it out if the next edition is going to be different or not. Right? How do you work with people that they're willing to start writing their first book?
Yeah, I mean, you're bringing up really interesting or important questions about the finances. And yes, there are, and I'll get to the question about how do I help people. You know, we've got maybe just to give an overview of the publishing world, because a lot of people don't know. So we've got the traditional publishers, which is where, you know, the Hay House, where you get a publishing contract and you might get an advance on the royalties. So you actually get paid. But then I know it's between 7 and 12% of the book royalties moving forward that you actually get. That's what I heard. That's the latest. And then hybrid publishing was created because yes, you can self-publish your book, right? You can do a whole complete DIY, learn everything yourself, look on Fiverr for somebody cheap who does the formatting for you, and get it done that way. I think the hybrid publisher, which is what I am, came out of this, is sitting right in the middle between those two, between this complete self-publishing DIY book and the traditional publishing. And it's answering that need for people who want to publish a book. They want the same level of professionalism that a traditional publishing house gives you. And they want to maintain complete sovereignty over their writing. But they also don't want to learn how to do the DIY because, you know, it takes a lot of work, and some people just don't want to figure it all out. And they say, hey, here, look, there's a hybrid publisher. They can do it to a professional standard. Let me just go with them. So what I do with people coming in, there's different ways. Like sometimes people come to me with a finished manuscript and they say, oh, you know, I'm a very good writer. I've got an English degree, and you know, it doesn't need editing. And then I say to them, even me with my English degree, first class English degree, need an editor because it's a different skill. You know, it's a very different skill, and we're too close to our own writing to really know it. And yes, and then even English teachers who've edited books, I'm like, oh, they still need an editor. So that, and I think editing is one of the things that you cannot skimp over. You do need a professional editor, unless. And I think that the reason why I think quality is so important is because it reflects on your professionalism in your own work. If you put out a shabby book that is produced on the cheap, it will, in my opinion, it will reflect on you as a professional, because it shows that maybe the quality that you, or the care that you put into quality in your own work, may not be as high as somebody who takes the time and the discipline and yes, the investment to do it professionally. So that's one point. So back to what I do. After they if I have a finished manuscript, I highly recommend they put it through, I always put it through proofreading, even if it's already edited. And then the proofreading will identify whether it's actually edited or whether it needs more editing because it's just not up to the professional standard of the industry. So we do that, and then I have a publishing package for people with a finished manuscript where we do the formatting. We talk about the launch campaign, helping them with creating and putting that in place, doing the cover with them, all of those things that go into it, choosing the Amazon category so it's actually found on Amazon. Some people like a bestseller campaign so that they get to, they've put all this work in, they might as well make it a bestseller. So I help them with that. If they are starting from scratch, there might be somebody out there listening saying, well, I know I should write a book because I know it's going to give me credibility. It's going to give me more visibility. And with all these overnight experts that are emerging on Facebook land or wherever, it is important to distinguish ourselves in some way from that. And a book is a perfect way of doing that. So for those people, I come and I have a conversation with them, just as I shared in the beginning, what is your void to value statement? If they choose to come into, I have a group program, excuse me, I have a group program, it's 4 months long, where I really help, I call them PurposePreneurs, purpose-led entrepreneurs, healers, coaches, wellness practitioners, to write their book. So we do a lot of planning, asking lots of questions around the structure of the book, really laying it all out. And then there is writing. I have a content library, online course with writing guides of how to write engagingly, how to write to speak to the unconscious, how to write for transformation. So all of that is included in my program. And then there's the accountability, and I give feedback and do coaching, spot coaching with them in the weekly meetings. So it's a beautiful, beautiful program where people not just learning from me, but they're also learning from each other and the questions they have, and they feel supported because they're not going through it alone. And all the fears and the questions that you brought up earlier, they realize that everybody has them. It's a normal process. And so we just go on that journey together.
That is great, because that is very necessary actually right now, that many people are thinking to writing a book, and they're going to all these questions. That's why I asked them, because I passed through that before I published my first book. And that's when I discovered that there were different kinds of editors that I bet many people do not even know that. I find out in the hard way.
I have found out some of the hard way myself too, yes.
So please,
Yeah.
can you explain for the viewers what kind of editors? Because I discovered only two, but it might be more. I don't know at all about this, about the content and also the grammar editor. Those are two different editors, at least, that I know.
Yes, so there is developmental editing.
Mhm.
So you've got the developmental editing, then you've got copy editing and line editing, and then there's proofreading. So the developmental editing, that's the one thing, but I'll talk through that, and then I'll talk about how to choose an editor. If you're not going with a hybrid publisher, if you're doing it by yourself and you're choosing your own, I've had my fair share of editors who said, I've done this for 20 years, I'm really good. And then I read their writing and I think, oh my God, this is not good at all. So I sometimes I think, well, experience is more than training. So I always recommend get a sample edit. If you are choosing your own editor, get somebody to do like a page to sample edit it for you. Get a couple of editors to do that, and then maybe even run it past a professional to see, okay, do they pick up on everything? What is their editing like? And also you need to align with an editor energetically. I feel that's very important too. You need to feel that they have the ability to put themselves into your shoes and to understand your voice and to speak with that. There are editors who are in their ego. They have a specific writing style and they impose that on your writing. And that's just not, that doesn't work, right? So I am grateful now to have found some editors who really get that and who have mastered that and who are really good at that. you were going to say something.
Important because when you're writing your book, so it's something very, very personal.
Yes.
And the last thing is they change your story because they don't agree with that. And people tend to project themselves into others. And they will change the way you express the way you wanted to tell your story. And that is very, very important. And yes, I see it over and over again. That happens to us. And talking about that, I saw a post in your wall today in social media that you were talking about AI. And I think we need to talk about it because that's a big
Yes.
woo-woo that is happening right now that I use it once in a while, my ChatGPT, but I did not use it in my books, but I do use it for content because it is impossible to do everything by yourself. And when I'm talking about the marketing of your business, it's like doing the content, writing the different kinds of content that you have to write, and also publicizing, selling, and this and that, and graphics, and it is too much for one person. So it is a tool. But what you were saying that you will distinguish right away when a book it was written by an AI. That was your post in there, and I read it and I felt it was very, very interesting because you lose your voice.
You do. Yes. Like there have been some people who've handed in a chapter that was written by AI, and I can tell what AI, like I actually, oh, you might have read my post, I don't know, like I actually posted about AI yesterday when it comes to book writing and the pros and cons of it. So here's what I use AI for, or ChatGPT when it comes to book writing. Sometimes I waffle and I can't get something concise. Like I use too many words. English isn't my, even though I've lived in English-speaking countries for longer than I've lived in Germany, English is still not my first language. And sometimes the sentences just, I waffle and it doesn't feel right. And I'm like, so I put a paragraph that I feel, it's not quite right. I can't quite get it to be concise. I put that into ChatGPT and I say, can you please make this paragraph into a concise, good piece of writing, and then it does it for me. And it's usually a paragraph that is just me sharing facts. When it comes to emotions, it's a whole different story. When it comes to the details of your memory, when it comes to reflection on something, like when you're deeply reflecting on something that happened in your life, ChatGPT would never be able to generate that. And if you put anything like that into ChatGPT, as you said, it is going to make it generic and you lose your voice. You use your authenticity and your essence, because we all have our unique rhythm, right? And we all have these little quirks in the way we express ourselves. And that's what gives our writing its soul. And so that we need to write those things ourselves. And that I don't think can ever be replaced by ChatGPT or any AI.
Hi everyone, this is Monica Ramirez, the Warrior of Love. And if you have been feeling stuck where you are right now, or if you have felt that you cannot connect with others in the same language or the same emotions that you're feeling, if you're a coach, a healer, energy worker, in any of those branches, maybe this is for you. Because we have felt the disconnection for the rest of our family, friends, that we cannot connect to them. And we're so afraid to actually go deep dive when we're getting triggered by our own clients because we're seeing our mirror image with them. My name is Monica Ramirez, the Warrior of Love, and that's my spiritual name. And I take clients from feeling confused and feeling stuck to feeling free, to feeling that they feel empowered from themselves. I created a system, Path to the Heart, that goes in 3 levels. And the first level, it is healing the inner child, healing the parts of us that we've been so afraid or it's very painful to do it. I have done it myself. not only with me, and I have done it with many of my clients, that I take them to this process. The second level, it is to go more into inner self, clearing the family lineage, to breaking the contracts and vows, learning deeper more about the laws of the universe. And the third level, it is learning how to channel, how to do waking up your and getting online your gifts, your unique gifts that the world so much needs right now. So if you wanted to know more about this, I am eager to show you and to teach you all what I know that I use every day in my life. So thank you for being here in this page. I really appreciate it. And this is Monica Ramirez, the Warrior of Love. I do agree with that. I do struggle with that. My first language is Spanish. So when I'm writing, obviously, that's when you're going to encounter more problems with that. Because obviously you're not going to have the correct wording and grammar and all this kind of stuff, because my first language is not English, again, like I mentioned. And let's say I write a piece of content, I put a story of mine that it has to go with whatever piece of content I put in, and it's like, okay, I put it ChatGPT, it's like, edit it or make it better, whatever. And it changed my whole story, or even remove it, my story, and create their own. And that's what we're going to encounter in using the ChatGPT. It is a tool, like a pen, to help us, but not to do it for us. And that's where the confusion is coming from, the people that thinking that they're going to substitute us, the AIs.
Yeah, the AIs will never substitute humans, because humans have emotions and have soul and have thought, reflections. But it will, as you said, it is a tool, and it will be able to help us to speed up the writing process. And it's really interesting. On Amazon, they actually have, when you upload a book to Amazon, there now is a thing, has it been ChatGPT gen, or has it been AI aided or generated? And you actually have to tick that. And it's like a legal obligation. And I don't quite know if that's currently just for marketing and research purposes, or whether there'll be implications around copyright moving forward, because ChatGPT or any AI will have been programmed based on what's out there of copyrighted material. So it's a huge question of copyright, of ethnicity, of ethics. I mean, yeah, we're in really interesting times, and I think if we just use it as an aid to make our work better, but not to help us generate a whole thing, that's okay. Actually, just to see what happened, I actually didn't create it. I'm currently writing a book, and I put the outline, like the content, what it's going to go in. I put that in ChatGPT and said, give me an outline and now write each chapter. What I got was horrible. I actually did that exercise just to see what would happen, right? And to see how capable it would actually be. But no, I threw the whole thing away. I deleted it all. It was just not good. And then there's this other question, because anything that we input into ChatGPT or any other AI software for that matter becomes available to everyone. Like it stores our data, and it will reuse it, and it will potentially pass it on to other people when they want to write their content. So there's that as well. Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I understand why we use it, many of us, to write at least social media content and things like that, because it takes a lot of the time off. And like, I used to pay a lot of money for copywriters, and they still do not, like we were talking about the editors, they still do not got my voice. And it was a lot of money that I was paying for that. And ChatGPT is $25 a month, and it's like, it's not going to have my voice neither, but at least I'm not going to be paying $800 instead of 25. That's the only difference. And yes, you can go back and change it. And when you're paying $800, you don't want to change it. But even it doesn't have your voice. Yes. And that is exactly. And yesterday, my daughter and me, we were having an argument, because I was telling her, I've been having conversations with ChatGPT. It's like, I wanted to know about
what is what is the concept? I was looking for a race that I could not find any information about it, that I used to teach 30 years ago. And in that time, we don't even have computers or Google in that time. And I started searching for that information and I could not find it anywhere. And I asked ChatGPT. And of course, ChatGPT told me that does not exist. That civilization do not exist. And it's like, I know it do. And she told me, okay, are you thinking your ChatGPT is sentient or is not? Which one do you want to see it? And that's when the issues really start. We are, as human beings, creators, and we created this kind of AIs. And it's not only for writing, we see it in painting and drawing. I'm also an artist. So we see all these things that but it is doesn't have that soul. So it is not inquisitive. It is not gonna ask you questions so it can understand you better as a sentient being. That is really, I
You
feel
know,
the difference.
we're going into down a rabbit hole now, but there's a movie, The Pod, I think it's called. And I think that's what it's called. I saw it on the airplane the other day, not the other day, like a couple of weeks ago. And it's about how they can have an embryo, you know, how women don't have to carry their babies anymore, and that can be done in an embryo. But in that movie, there also was a therapist. So it was a program that knew exactly the questions to ask to have a therapy session. So when you're saying, you know, it can't ask questions and it's not a sentient being, that's true, but it can be programmed to ask the questions any coach would ask and then respond to the answers. It's interesting what can happen. I mean, that movie was completely utopian, but you know, that's if they can make a movie like that, then they're seeding that into our consciousness to be created. But that's just a whole other, you know, rabbit hole to go down, right?
Yes, I totally agree. Sorry, I just had to ask that. I went in there. Now, going back to the books or publishing a book, something that I encounter is even if I did it with someone that helped me to become the bestseller author and so forth, I would put it in Amazon. And after putting it in Amazon, that's when I went to Barnes and Noble, that's a few blocks away from my house, and I told them, hey, what do I have to do to put my book in Barnes and Noble? And that's when I encountered a problem. Like, basically, I have to bring it down from Amazon, get a special permit so I can put it in Barnes and Noble, my book that is already registered in the Library of the Congress. And I was like, okay, it should not be like that. It should be more easy to put it distributed everywhere, the same book. Or else you have to have how many books at your home so you can do that. That do not work like that. So what do you recommend to people to actually to look for a publishing company and they do all that is not easy, that they accept your script, or going to do it to Amazon or go directly to Barnes and Noble and do it through there, because those are three routes that right now we're encountering the majority of the authors. What is your
Yeah,
opinion?
I think, yeah, my opinion, I think it really depends that we need to go to the intention of the author. What is their intention with the book? Do they want it in just, you know, one Barnes and Nobles and that's then more localized? Yes, if you can get it into a traditional publishing, if you can get a traditional contract, and in terms of the distribution, you have a wider distribution for sure, because they have connections and agreements with actual physical bookstores where they can get it into. But they're still not going to do the marketing. They might initially put it out, there might be an initial marketing, and then that's it. And then still up to the author to sell the books on some level. And you're locked into a contract. You may have had to change your message so it fits in with what they think will sell. It takes longer, but still, you know, if I got a contract with Hay House, I wouldn't turn it down. I would go for it for sure, right? So again, it's like these, it's individual basis. I think you have more freedom when you're going with a hybrid publisher or you're putting it onto Amazon. There's also other distribution platforms or that I put books on that get it onto the virtual, Barnes, the Barnes and Nobles, the online Barnes and Nobles, that get it onto online other platforms that are big, like Google, not big, what are they called? I'm not very good with names, and I just know that Barnes and Noble is one of them that you can put it in. Ingram Sparks is another. So there are ways you can get it distributed online and people can access it. And I think, is it really that important to have it in a bookstore? Yes, maybe if you get it into an airport bookstore, and there is an application process to do where you don't have to take it off Amazon. It's a little complicated and you have to be accepted, but that is definitely possible. Yeah.
You as a publishing company, what are you looking for writers? When someone comes with a script, what are you looking for?
Yeah, look, I love, like, my mission is to raise the consciousness on the planet, one person, one story, and one book at a time. So anybody who creates a transformational book that will serve humanity in one way or another to awaken, to empower, to enlighten, to shift perspectives, to help people step into their highest timeline, or their purpose, their essence, their full potential. That's the kind of books that I love to publish. People ask me to do children's books, and I have done a children's book, and again, it has to be something that has that has a message, that is something that will help them to learn through stories.
And something in my experience, I have participated in many books. I'm co-author of many books in English and Spanish, in both. And the last one that I participated, it was in poetry. And that's when I realized, like, okay, who's making the money? They charge you for participating in those kind of books, but at the end, it is for the publishing company. So it's never going to be for you. But they ask you have to promote it, you have to sell it. But you're not going to make 1 cent from that book ever. It's not, it is in their own site of whatever. So, and like that, right now, there's a lot of pop ups. People saw that they can do money with doing that to authors. And I see it a lot with I can understand as a coach, okay, you're going to attract clients to there when they see it. Like, I'm very proud to be co-author with Joe Vitale. But my message, sooner or later, someone is going to say, oh, you know what, I want to coach with Monica. But as a poet, that's a lose-lose in every single way, because no one goes to Barnes and Noble, Amazon, like, let me buy a book of poetry. No, when you write a book of poetry, I call it the the monument for the ego, because that's what it is. Who's gonna buy it? Your friends, where you read, and your family. That's it. No one is gonna go in Amazon and, like, let me go and buy the book of Monica, the poetry book of Monica. That doesn't happen. Let's be real. I would not do it. So I don't expect other people.
I mean, there are some people who love poetry and they get inspired, but you're right. And I started 3.5 years ago with, close to, when I'm with the publishing, and the market was very different. Now you're right. Everybody has a publishing arm to their company and doing these multi-author books because they think they can make a quick buck. For me, it really comes from a deeper place of service. Like, yes, I charge money for what I do. So does a coach. I'm providing a transformational experience for the authors. And I have, when I do multi-author books, we have not weekly meetings, but we have a lot of meetings. I provide them with training on how to write, which they can then take into any writing they do for social media. They have a skill, they're learning a skill. They gain clarity on their messaging. If it's for coaching, usually working with coaches who then using it for business, the clarity that they gain from really crafting their chapter is powerful. Sometimes the other day I had I gave feedback for one of my authors, and her chapter was beautiful, her story beautiful, but like, where's your core message? What is your core message for the reader? Where's the transformation for the reader? And so I know a lot of publishers who just say, I'm just going to do this book for money. They don't do that. They don't go into it. They get the chapter in, they run it through grammatical editing, and they publish it. I don't do that. I read the chapters. I really feel into it. What's the transformation that the reader will get? How are you positioning yourself? Do I get to know you? Do I get to feel your expertise? Is it really positioning you in the highest light? Now let's really fine-tune the message so the reader will have an experience where they get your story and they feel you reflecting on your story, which then creates the bridge to the universal theme of whatever the core message is. So I go into a lot of detail, so they get all of that. And that's a service, and that needs to be paid for somehow, right? And then there's also, what else was I going to say? So yeah, for me, it's really about, let me help them step into their power. It's the writing is just a transfer. It's just my tool to help these authors, these coaches, these healers get into their next level of embodying their expert status. And yes, now let's get them clients because they have that book. But really, as you were saying, the book is just a tool. Unless it's being promoted by the authors, by the coaches, it will eventually just be on Amazon and nobody will see it. So that's what I train them. How do you use your book? How do you use it to get clients, to help people get to know you? You've got this beautiful piece of writing now that really positions you as an expert, that really helps people understand who you are. How are you going to use it? So that's how I approach it.
And one of the things about, in my experience of becoming the best author, and what I have seen around, is that you have to sell at least 100 books before as a pre-launch, so you can become the best-selling author. So you're carrying all the weight by yourself. And these kind of companies that, as an author, that you have to sell 100 books so you become the bestseller. But it is impossible to sustain it there after that. Why? Because you already sold 3 to your grandmother, 2 to your mom, 2 to best friends, etc. How many more family you can have? Come on. And I'm Mexican, so we're but you're going to be selling them more books and more books to the same people. So that it is not sustainable. It is impossible to be sustainable. Do you continue being the best-selling author? And people do not I did not know about how you become the best-selling author. Now that I do, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I want to be again the best-selling author. I don't like to be selling the books like that. If there is a better way to do that, or that's the only way to do it when you wanted to become the best-selling author?
I think you do. If you want to become a best-selling author, yes, there is an algorithm, so you have to sell a certain amount in a certain time frame, and it depends. So I run my bestseller campaigns in Kindle, which means that, and I put the price at a reasonable price so that people, and then it is, reach out to your community, get everybody to purchase your book on launch day. It is that, and you're right, it is not sustainable. I don't know if it's sustainable, but there is a strategy where you work with influencers and tap into the communities of influencers, and so there is, it's not just friends and family. There are actually strategies that you can use to get it genuinely to the right people that will benefit from your book.
So you work with influencers in your company?
Yeah, it requires a lot of planning. So say again.
So you work with influencers in your company?
I have worked with influencers in my company. It kind of, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends on whether somebody says yes, because it requires building relationships, etc. I have had Dr. John DiMartini in one of my books. I've had Laurie Ladd in one of my books. So I've had a few people who have names.
That's good. I believe that's one way to do it. What advice would you tell someone that it is the first time and take your class first before they even write their book? Or you mentioned that you were going to be teaching a class very soon. So that's why I'm asking this. What do you recommend to them?
Somebody who wants to write a book, what do I recommend to them to do?
Yes,
I
to
think
take your class first, and or write it first and then take your class. What do you recommend first?
I would say started with the knowledge that you need to plan it properly. So don't write it by yourself. Yeah, I would say work with somebody who can help you get the right message into the book, and go through that course. If that's too expensive for people, there's also books that teach you how to do this. Again, you won't get the feedback. You're still doing it by yourself. You're still guessing. It's like this. It's like with everything. If you want to do it properly and have the results afterwards with it, you've got to invest some money. And if you want to go on the fast track, of course, there's always the DIY track that you can take. It's a bit more windy. It takes a little longer. So you get what you pay for. I think that's the thing. But what I'm offering all of your community is a conversation with me, just to help them get the clarity on what is their core message and what it makes sense for them and their business and where they're at currently in their life and their business to write a book. Because we need, that needs to be clear first. We can also, yes, of course, every business needs a book, because we want to differentiate ourselves from those who are these overnight successes and just make these big claims that they're an expert, but really they haven't got anything to substantiate that. So, but yeah, so I'm offering just a complimentary strategy session for anybody listening, to just get clarity. And then if it makes sense to come into the course, then great. And if it doesn't, then that's fine too.
When your course is going to be is starting?
It's actually starting, the next one is starting the first week of June, and I'm not sure when this will air. But yeah, we're starting the first week of June. Yeah. But even if people listening to this later, there'll always be another one opening. And so, yeah, just to reach out and have a chat.
And you mentioned it was 4 months, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Perfect. So I will be posting the description in the description of all the links about Krystal, so you can get a hold of her if you're interested to publish in your book. Because I believe that we all need some help and support. We do not know it all, and we may know how to write or how to express ourselves, but there is so much things going behind not only knowing how to write. The From the editors, or if you're doing translations, if you're doing a lot of stuff, it is a lot of things, and just the marketing part, it is a lot of stuff that you don't have to do it alone. I know, as a creative person, you search for someone, you know what, represent me. That will be the easy way. And when you have a company like yours, do you represent the writers in that way, or the writers have to do all the legwork? Which one
They
is
still
with?
have to do their own legwork. So the way I support them is by creating a really solid launch strategy, creating a solid plan. I support them with providing them press releases and samples, but I don't do the marketing for them, other than interviewing them and promoting them I do promote them to my community for sure. That I do. But beyond that, I give them the strategies and the know-how of what they need to do to get it out there. And then I do have connections to PR and marketing companies and people that do that, but that's not included in my service. I tell them how to do it, and yeah, set them up for success that way.
Oh, Chris, has been very, very interesting. Do you have something else that you would like to add to this conversation before we close?
Just to say that everybody has a story to share, and whether you write a book or not, I think it's important that we claim and we own our story so that we can show up in the fullness of who we are.
So true. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And
Thank you, Monica.
again, you're going to find in the description of this podcast, and in Captivate too, that you're listening, you're going to find the description of Krista. So like that, you can get into her course, or you wanted to publish your book too, because we do need help. That's for sure. We cannot do it all by ourselves. That is very unprofessional. I can say that. I see it with many people, even doing movies, or you cannot be writing the movie, directing the movie, producing the movie, and doing and being the actor at the same time. You can, but it's not gonna look good.
It's going to come across as self-indulgent, doesn't it? Because you have no external mirror, you have no reflection, you don't get a different perspective. And I have done that too as a student, and oh my God, no, it does not go well.
Yes, my husband is an actor, and I have seen that with some of his classmates. And it was when he was studying for being an actor, he was like, "That's something that I learned. You cannot do everything in there because it's not going to be a good quality. You need different perspectives of other people."
Exactly. Yes.
Krista, it's been really my pleasure to have you in Soul Talk. Thank you for being here. And for everybody that is listening, it is have helped you. I am so happy for that. But you might know someone that is thinking how to write a book, or they're already starting the book and they're trying to figure it out how to publish and so forth, and about all this, the editors and all this kind of stuff that we were talking. So share it with them, because I know it will help them, because for sure you're writing a book or thinking about it, we need support. So please share this video with them. Thank you so much. This is Monica Ramirez, the Warrior of Love, and thank you for being in Soul Talk.